Hey friends, tonight we're diving into the rowdy, beer-soaked, slightly grimy world of a medieval tavern, the secret soul of every town, where rumors spread faster than wildfire, and the only place where a merchant, a blacksmith, and a bard can all get plastered or lose their purse equally. It's not just a spot to chug ale. It's where laughter mixes with the risk of a punch, and the smell of pottage swirls freely under old wooden beams. So, before you kick back, hit that like button and subscribe, but only if you truly dig the stories I spin, and drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always a thrill to know who's journeying with us from around the globe. Now dim the lights, crack a window for that dreamy vibe, and let's step into tonight's adventure. You trudge along the muddy path, your tattered boots making squelch-squelch sounds, as if chatting with the mire. The rain has just stopped, leaving a slippery world where everything seems coated in invisible grease. You nearly fall once, flailing your arms like a fledgling bird, but somehow stay upright. The smell of wood smoke wafts over, mingling with an odd scent, maybe vegetable stew, but who knows? Someone might have tossed an old sock into the pot. You wrinkle your nose, trying not to dwell on it. Your whole body's exhausted, like you've dragged a cart over 3 hills. Your stomach growls, reminding you your last meal was a dry crust of bread at dawn. To top it off, you narrowly escaped being flattened by a turnip cart, not once, but twice. The first time, the driver bellowed, "Get out of the way, fool!" as turnips nearly tumbled onto your head. The second time, you swear he aimed for you, cackling with glee as you leapt aside. Your torn boots are now soaked, mud caking the heels, and you start wondering if this medieval life is even worth living. Thirst flares up, scorching your throat. You need a beer. No, you deserve a beer. A cold, frothy pint, slightly bitter, enough to wash away this miserable day. But here's the catch. You're in a medieval town. No neon signs or map apps to guide you. No GPS, no 5-star great ale friendly barkeep reviews. You stand in the road, mud up to your ankles, peering around like a lost owl. How do you find a tavern in this maze of crooked wooden houses and the stench of rotten fish? Then you recall a trick your neighbor's uncle, a storyteller of his adventurous youth, once shared. In a medieval town, the tavern's always the loudest spot. You take a deep breath, trying not to inhale that weird stew smell, and listen. At first, it's a chaotic mess. The clang of a blacksmith's hammer nearby pounds your ears like an unwanted tune. Then a fishmonger's voice booms, hawking fresh eels, caught this morning. Though you'd swear those eels gave up last week. A dog barks somewhere, and someone drops a bucket, followed by a wildly creative string of curses. But then, through that cacophony, you catch a signal, a distinct sound, like a lighthouse in the fog. It's laughter, not polite giggles, but hearty, roaring laughter, the kind that only comes from a half-drunk crowd. Mixed in are cheerful shouts, as if someone just lost a bet and owes the whole table a round. And, best of all, the horrendously off-key singing of a sloshed man. He's singing about a goose? Yes, definitely a goose, because you hear, "Oh, my dear goose, why'd you leave me?" before the entire tavern erupts in laughter. You smile. For the first time all day. That's the sign you needed. You adjust your tattered cloak, wipe mud from your face, though it only smears more, and head toward the sound. The road's still slick, and you step carefully, like a cat on a wet rooftop. The off-key singing grows clearer. Now you hear clinking mugs and someone boasting about fending off 3 wolves barehanded. The tavern's just ahead, maybe around that corner, where torchlight flickers faintly. You picture the scene inside. Scarred wooden tables, the air thick with ale's aroma, and maybe, just maybe, a bowl of stew that doesn't smell odd. Your thirst roars, as if shouting, "Hurry up, you sluggard!" You pick up the pace, though your sodden boots try to hold you back. A spark of hope flares, not just for the ale, but for the chance to sit, hear absurd tales, and forget this wretched day. Maybe you'll laugh with the goose singer, or pretend to believe the wolf story. Either way, that tavern is your destination, and you know salvation's near, as long as no turnip cart flattens you again. You stand there, in the still darkness of a tiny town no one bothers to name. The cold wind slips through your cloak, carrying the scent of damp earth and a faint trace of smoke from a distant hearth. But what stops you isn't the chill, it's a sound. Boisterous laughter, the clatter of glass mugs, and an off-key but passionate guitar melody. That noise is a beacon, guiding you over the rough, winding cobblestone path until you pause before a ramshackle wooden building. It looks like it was cobbled together from the scraps of a drunken dream. Roof slanting to one side, windows misaligned, and wall planks creaking with every gust. Yet it stands proud, like a grizzled old man defying time. You smile. Something about its shabbiness feels familiar. On the front door, a wooden sign dangles, its rusted iron chains clinking softly. You squint. It's dark. The moonlight barely traces the faint outlines on the sign. What's that drawing? A giant beer barrel? Or maybe a bear hugging one? Perhaps both, sketched by an artist too drunk to tell his brush from his mug. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The tavern's name is too faded to read. But you know this is where you're meant to be. The place where noise, smoke, and absurd tales gather to make a night unforgettable. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself, and step onto the porch. Oh, that porch. It's slick as an ice rink, polished by spilled ale no one bothered to mop. You flail for balance, nearly tumbling, but by some miracle you stay upright. All right, you mutter. If I survive this porch, I deserve a drink. Your hand finds the heavy iron door, ice cold and scratched, as if it once doubled as someone's archery target. You push hard. The door doesn't budge. You push again, harder, and this time it yields, but not without protest. It screeches, a shrill, drawn-out wail, like a botched guitar solo, echoing across the town. If anyone within 5 miles was trying to sleep, sorry, you just ruined their dreams. Stepping over the threshold, the tavern's air wraps you like an old blanket, warm, slightly stifling, and thick with indescribable scents. First, there's smoke, not tobacco, but the kind from a hearth burning wet wood, rising in plumes as if telling a mournful tale. Then, the smell of damp wool, likely from sodden cloaks hung haphazardly near the door, drenched by rain and now reeking in their own way. And finally, a mysterious meaty aroma wafts by. Is it roasting? Stewing? Or just a steak someone dropped on the floor and forgot to pick up? You're not sure, but your stomach rumbles, half curious, half wary. You take a deep breath, letting all those scents mingle in your chest. It's not exactly pleasant, but it's not bad either. It's the smell of life, of people gathered to forget the chill outside and swap tales no one will recall tomorrow. You glance around. The flickering light from oil lamps hanging overhead casts shadows on the rough wooden walls. Long tables bear countless scratches. Chairs are mismatched, and a long bar stretches across the corner, where a burly barkeep wipes mugs with a rag that looks dirtier than the glass. Laughter erupts again, closer now, from a group in the corner playing cards, or pretending to, as one sneaks a card under the table. You smile, taking another step deeper into the tavern. The wooden floor creaks beneath your feet, as if greeting you in its own way. For a moment, just a moment, the noise seems to hush, and you feel the eyes of a few patrons flick toward you, not suspicious, but gently curious, as if wondering what story you'll bring to this chaotic space. You don't rush. You let the moment pass, letting the tavern's air seep into every breath. This isn't just a tavern. It's a small world, where time slows, where stories are born and die in a single night. And you, officially, have stepped inside. You've just crossed the screeching iron door, squealing like a cat with its tail stepped on, and the tavern's warm air engulfs you, like an old friend who's a bit too enthusiastic. Before you stretches a chaotic yet vibrant scene, as if someone tossed a riot bomb into a farmhouse and locked the door. The ceiling's so low you instantly pity anyone over 6 feet. Tall folks duck like they're in an unwilling limbo contest, while those already deep in their cups aren't so lucky. Every few minutes, a loud thud echoes, followed by a string of curses or the crowd's laughter. Apparently, smacking your head on a beam is part of the initiation rite here. You duck slightly, both to avoid the ceiling and to check the floor, which, frankly, isn't a floor at all. It's dirt, plain and simple, covered with a thin layer of straw, as if someone tried to make it look clean but gave up after 5 seconds. The straw clings to your boots, mingling with mud, spilled ale, and something suspiciously like meat gravy. You tell yourself it's best not to think too hard about it. Just keep walking, smile, and act like you belong. After all, in this tavern, no one's got time to notice your filthy boots. They're too busy living it up in this cozy chaos. Your eyes scan the room, and the first thing you notice is there's no concept of privacy here. No quiet corners for hushed chats, no cute little tables for two, and definitely no neatly printed menus. Want food? Ask the barkeep, and if you're lucky, he'll toss you a steaming bowl of something you're not sure is soup or pot wash water. Want a quiet conversation? Forget it. This tavern operates in 2 modes, loud as a storm tearing through, or closed because someone accidentally, or not, set something on fire. Laughter, shouts, arguments, and an off-key piano tune from the corner blend into a symphony of chaos. You can't help but smile. It's noisy, but it's the kind of noise that makes you want to stay. You start weaving through the crowd, trying not to bump into anyone, but it's near impossible. The throng here moves like a school of fish, random yet oddly synchronized. You sidestep a burly man, face flushed red, bellowing about a stolen chicken. "I swear that hen could fly," he roars, while his friend shakes his head, clearly having heard this tale a dozen times. You dodge to the side, only to nearly collide with another, a wiry old man slumped asleep at a table, a wooden ladle in his hand. The ladle rests loosely in his fingers, as if he was about to scoop soup, but decided sleep was more pressing. You wonder if he'll wake up and resume scooping like nothing happened. As you weave toward the bar, a rustle under a table startles you. You glance down, spotting a one-eyed dog, its shaggy fur looking like it just survived a whirlwind. It's gnawing a massive bone, steady and focused, as if it's the beast's full-time job. The dog shoots you a look, a vibe that says, "I was here first, don't bother me," then returns to its prize. You chuckle. There's something about this dog, its swagger, its don't-care attitude, that makes you think it's the real boss of this tavern. The shouting patrons, the bustling servers, they're all just tenants in its kingdom. You press on toward the bar, where light from dangling oil lamps glints off haphazardly stacked bottles. The smell of ale, smoke, and roasted meat grows thicker here, mingling with laughter and clinking mugs. Your heartbeat slows, syncing with the tavern's rhythm. There's something about this place, the chaos, the warmth, the sense you've stepped into a story with no known ending, that makes you want to sit, order a drink, and let the night take the reins. You don't know what's waiting, but one thing's certain. In this tavern, boredom has no place. Dear audience, take a moment to relax, grab a glass of water, and settle in for the rest of this story. The twists are still to come. And please, drop a comment below to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see someone join us from across the globe. Comment 1 if you're loving this story. It'll inspire us to bring you more captivating tales. You've just squeezed through the tavern's chaotic crowd, dodging booming laughter, heated arguments, and that one-eyed dog gnawing its bone like it's a sacred duty. Your eyes scan the room, searching for a spot to rest in this cozy battlefield. And then, like a miracle amid the storm, you spot an empty seat on a wooden bench near the fireplace. The fire crackles, casting warm orange-red glows, almost whispering, "Sit here. You've earned it." You stride over, heart full of hope, until the dim light from a wall-mounted oil lamp reveals the harsh truth. The seat is wet. Not morning dew wet, but you don't want to know wet. Spilled ale? Soup? Something worse? You pause for a second, wrestling with yourself. But your aching feet win. You sit, keeping a straight face, as if you're totally fine with your trousers now soaking up a damp mystery. No sooner do you settle than a thunderous sneeze erupts beside you, so loud and wet you almost feel it. You glance over, meeting a burly man with a scruffy beard, wiping his nose on his sleeve like it's fine linen. He grins at you, missing a few teeth, then sneezes again. You force a smile, scooting away slightly, trying not to imagine germs dancing in the air. Across from you, another figure slumps over the table, or rather, melts into it, staring at you with glazed eyes. It's not a hostile look, more like someone trying to recall how to stand, or why they're even here. You nod in greeting, just to break the tension, but he only blinks slowly, like a drunken owl. You glance around, and the tavern's crowd comes alive like a breathing creature, pulsing to its own rhythm. A group in the corner roars with laughter, so loud you wonder if they're sharing a joke or just trying to drown each other out. Another man, perched on a chair, argues loudly about who lost his only shoe, while his opponent shrugs and sips more ale. And then, in the center of the room, a young woman with wild hair slams her mug down, so hard ale splashes everywhere, spraying a nearby patron's shirt. But no one cares. The soaked man just laughs, raising his mug like he's been blessed, and the crowd erupts again. That's the rule here. If you can't laugh at the chaos, you don't belong in this tavern. You take a deep breath and instantly realize the air here isn't just smoke and warmth from the hearth. There's a signature perfume of the tavern wrapping around you. Sour ale, so potent you almost taste its bitterness. Sweat from the packed bodies, carrying the fatigue and thrill of a long day. And somewhere, faint but unmistakable, the whiff of moldy bread. Maybe it's from a forgotten loaf under a table, or a sack someone's been lugging since last week. You wrinkle your nose, but then shrug. This scent, though odd, has a strange allure. It's proof of life, of people gathered to forget the chill outside and seize the moment. Despite the mess around you, you can't deny the warm, inviting pull of this place. The fire crackles nearby, its heat seeping through your cloak, soothing the lingering cold from outdoors. The laughter, though raucous, feels genuine, as if everyone here agreed to set aside their worries and live fully in this moment. You lean back in the chair, trying not to dwell on the wet surface beneath you, and feel your heartbeat slow, syncing with the tavern's rhythm. Someone's singing somewhere, voice slurred but brimming with passion, and the crowd claps along, though no one's sure what the song is. You smile, not for any specific tale, but for the strange sense that, amid this chaos, you've found a place to belong, if only for one night. You've settled on the damp bench near the hearth, ignoring the sneezes of the man beside you and the tavern's signature perfume, a blend of sour ale, sweat, and moldy bread. The crowd around you pulses like a living creature, laughing loudly, bickering, and slamming mugs on tables as if it's the official sport here. You decide to take a moment to observe, to truly soak in this chaotic yet enchanting space. Your eyes sweep the room, and every little detail tells a story, as if the tavern is an old, tattered book brimming with allure. First, you notice the furniture. Calling it furniture might be generous. It looks cobbled together from wood scraps left after a storm. Each table wobbles, legs teetering like they're in a balancing act. Their surfaces are etched with crude carvings, initials, names, and scrawled drawings you guess were born from drunken nights. A lopsided heart is carved on a table nearby, inscribed with J and M forever. You wonder if J and M are still forever, or split right after the knife finished its work. A chair close by is missing a leg, replaced with a log tied with rope, and you can't help but admire the ingenuity, or laziness, of whoever rigged it. Your gaze shifts to the fireplace in the corner, the room's main source of light and warmth. The fire crackles, casting shadows on the rough wooden walls, creating a cozy glow. But you quickly realize this hearth isn't just a friend of comfort. It's a potential fire hazard. Glowing logs occasionally spit sparks, and smoke lingers in the air instead of escaping. You squint at the chimney, wondering if it's clogged with a dead raven or an abandoned nest from a century ago. The smoke's pungent, but no one in the tavern seems to care. Maybe they're used to it, or they just figure smoke's part of the experience here. Your eyes drift to what you assume is the bar, though it barely qualifies. It's just a long, warped wooden plank, precariously balanced on two old ale barrels. The board creaks with every mug set down or elbow leaned on it, as if begging for retirement. Its surface is cluttered with chipped mugs, interspersed with dried, sticky ale stains. The barkeep, a hulking man with a beard like a bird's nest, pours ale from a wooden cask, and you swear he's filled the wrong mug at least 3 times, but no one complains. Maybe here, ale is ale, no matter whose mug it lands in. Your gaze is suddenly caught by a narrow, pitch-black staircase leading upstairs. It looks like it was built by a drunken carpenter, each step veering in a different direction. Dangling from the railing is an old, tattered leather boot, swaying whenever someone brushes past. You wonder, is it decor, a trophy from a wild night, or a warning like, "Leave your boot here, and you'll never see it again"? You lean toward the third option. This tavern seems to have a knack for losing things, boots, reason, or even a sense of time. You scan the room again, realizing everything here looks like it was arranged during an earthquake and left as is. No order, no rules, just miraculously organized chaos. An oil lamp hangs from the ceiling, tilting precariously, its rope looking ready to snap. A wooden sign near the bar, scrawled with "No fighting after midnight," is marred by a huge scratch, making you doubt its authority. Everything's loose, worn, yet pulsing with strange vitality, as if this tavern has seen centuries of laughter, brawls, and forgotten tales. You lean back in your chair, feeling the hearth's warmth seep through your cloak. Laughter erupts from the crowd, mingled with clinking mugs and a slurred song from the corner. You smile, not for anything specific, but for the feeling that you're exactly where you're meant to be. This tavern, with all its chaos, is a place to slow down, laugh at life's quirks, and forget the world outside, if only for one night. You're perched on the damp bench near the hearth, your eyes gliding over wobbly tables etched with initials, the warped plank posing as a bar, and that mysterious boot dangling on the staircase. The tavern is a chaotic, vibrant world, with laughter, arguments, and clinking mugs blending into an endless song. But amid this storm of sounds and scents, sour ale, wood smoke, and moldy bread, stands a towering figure, a lighthouse in a raging sea. It's the tavern keeper, the uncrowned king, or perhaps queen, of this rowdy kingdom. You lean forward, curious, because this is clearly the one orchestrating every pulse of this place. The keeper stands behind the rickety wooden plank called a bar, and from the first glance, you know they're not one to be trifled with. It could be a hulking man, shoulders broad as a barrel, arms scarred with tales of wild nights or quashed brawls. Or, as in this case, a woman with eyes sharp as a blade, hair neatly tied high, and a half-smile that's both welcoming and a warning. Don't try me. She moves with a general's confidence, hands deftly pouring ale, wiping mugs, and tossing a grimy rag at a man spilling beer on the floor. One glance from her, and the group in the corner, arguing over a missing goose, falls silent, like schoolboys caught by the teacher. The keeper isn't just a server. They're the cook, rolling up sleeves to stir a steaming pot of soup, its aroma making your stomach growl despite suspicions of questionable ingredients. They're the accountant, mentally tallying every mug of ale, every bowl of soup, without a scrap of paper. "Oi, Tom, you owe me 3 coppers from last week," she barks, and Tom, face flushed, mumbles an apology and fumbles for coins. They're the bouncer, ready to grab any troublemaker by the collar and hurl them out with a speed that suggests Olympic training. And above all, they're the living memory of the tavern, tracking who's paid, who's in debt, and who's drunk enough to start singing about a dancing cow. You watch the keeper command the room like a maestro. When she's in high spirits, the tavern hums like a festival. She laughs loudly, recounting a tale of a drunk trying to ride a horse backward, and the whole room roars, mugs raised high. But when she's cross, oh, you feel the air thicken instantly. A man in the corner, sloshed enough to urge the crowd to sing along, falls silent under her glance. "Finish your drink and scarper, Will," she says, her voice low but sharp as a blade. Will nods frantically, gulping his last swig, and you swear he nearly drops the mug from trembling. You make a mental note: never cross the tavern keeper. Cross her? That's a one-way ticket to disaster. You overhear a nearby patron whisper about a fool who dared argue with her over a mischarged bill. Before he could apologize, a wooden mug flew at his head, swift and precise like she'd trained at a firing range. He staggered out, clutching his skull and muttering, while the tavern cheered as if watching a show. Since then, no one questions the tab. You glance at her, calmly wiping a mug with that filthy rag, and wonder if that mug's her secret weapon. Everything in the tavern orbits the keeper. She's the heart of the chaos, keeping it from collapsing, or at least not entirely. When a drunk shatters a mug, she sighs, tosses him a new one, and says, "Next time, you're mopping the floor." When a group sings too loudly, she raps the plank hard, and they hush instantly, though still giggling. You smile, feeling the hearth's warmth and the tavern's rhythm. The keeper, with her piercing eyes and half-smile, is why this place thrives. You lean back, thinking that as long as she's behind the bar, this tavern will always be a place to laugh, forget, and feel alive, if only for one night. You've settled into the tavern's chaotic rhythm, perched on the damp bench near the hearth, your eyes gliding over etched tables, the warped bar plank, and the keeper with her razor-sharp gaze commanding the scene like a general. The laughter, bickering, and clinking mugs echo. But now your stomach rumbles, and your throat's parched from the long journey. It's time to order a drink, to truly join this raucous world. You wave at the keeper, a woman with a half-smile that's both welcoming and menacing, and brace yourself for the ordering experience in a place without a hint of a menu. Don't dream of a lengthy cocktail list or a mojito garnished with mint. Here, choices are so basic they're almost primal, as if someone decided too many options just muddle the mind. The keeper glances at you, wiping her hands on a frayed apron, and asks in a low voice, "Ale, mead, cider, or water?" You hesitate, processing the options. Ale's the safe bet, or at least the crowd's favorite, judging by the wobbling mugs in their hands. Mead sounds tempting, but something about mead makes you suspect it's not as sweet as it sounds. Cider, maybe? Worth a try. Water. You glance at the straw-strewn dirt floor and recall that clean wells here are rarer than gold, maybe even rarer than the keeper's genuine smile. Water? Careful, it might make you grow a beard, she quips, smirking, and the group near the bar roars with laughter. You give a weak smile, ruling out water instantly. Ale, you say, feeling it's the least risky choice. The keeper nods, grabbing a wooden mug from under the plank and pouring from a large cask. You watch the cloudy liquid flow, thick as soup, with bits of yeast, or something like it, floating inside. When she sets the mug before you, you swear a tiny hair clings to the rim. A previous patron's? The dog's? Just stray straw? You choose not to dwell. Curiosity here could ruin the fun. The ale's warm, not a trace of chill, and when you take a sip, a bitter punch hits your tongue, followed by an earthy aftertaste. It's no craft brew, but in this moment, amid the tavern's warm chaos, it's oddly perfect. You glance around, curious about the options you passed up. The bearded man beside you, face flushed and grinning foolishly, clutches a mug of mead. Sweet, you guess, but strong as a fist. Another patron in the corner recounts his first mead tasting, smooth as candy, but the second round stung like a wasp, knocking him flat and dreaming he was a queen bee. You chuckle, grateful for your ale. Cider appears on a nearby table, served in cracked mugs, its amber liquid glinting under oil lamps. A woman takes a sip, wincing at the tartness, then laughs and raises her mug like she's conquered a challenge. You wonder if your mug's cracked, and sure enough, your fingers find a small fissure on the rim. It holds, so you shrug and drink on. Wine, you overhear, is a rarity here. A man in the corner brags he tried some last week, but it was thin as rainwater, diluted nearly clear. When he demanded proper wine, the keeper smirked, shot him a look like, "You think this is a palace?" and poured him more ale. You grin inwardly, savoring the raw honesty in this lack of pretense. Everything here's rough, but that roughness is its charm. You take another sip of ale, feeling the bitterness spread, mingling with the laughter and warmth from the hearth. The tavern hums with life, the keeper orchestrating it all with sharp glances and curt commands. You lean back in your chair, cradling the warm mug, and realize this ale isn't just a drink. It's your ticket into this chaotic yet cozy world, where folks gather to forget the chill outside, to laugh, and to live. You smile, Take another sip and think that, hair or no hair on the mug, it's the perfect choice for a night like this. You sit there, the cloudy, warm ale mug in hand, its bitter taste lingering on your tongue, blending with the tavern's chaotic air. Laughter erupts from the corner, arguments over a missing goose, and the keeper's sharp gaze overseeing it all like a monarch. But amid this lively din, your stomach pipes up, growling like a mournful tune, reminding you your last meal was a dry handful of barley and a side of day-long misery. You take a deep breath, muster your courage, and wave at the server, the woman with her hair tied high and eyes that could sober a drunk in a flash. "Got anything to eat?" you ask, voice just loud enough to cut through the noise. The server glances at you, smirking as if you've asked something foolish, then ducks into the dim kitchen behind the warped bar plank. You hear clanging pots, the sizzle of something on the fire, and a soft curse as she spills something. Minutes later, she returns, plunking a bowl of pottage before you, a thick, steaming stew that looks like it's been simmering from Monday to Thursday without a stir. Its smell is complex, a hint of root vegetables, a touch of grain, and something you can only call questionable protein. You peer into the bowl, spotting something floating, maybe onion, maybe something best left unquestioned. You force a smile, reminding yourself that in this tavern, curiosity isn't a friend. The server stands there, hands on hips, as if daring you to complain. You don't. Instead, you grab the chipped wooden spoon she hands you, take a deep breath, and scoop a bite of pottage. It's so thick the spoon nearly stands upright, and as you bring it to your mouth, you taste a strange blend, sweet from turnips, bland from barley, and a hint of meat. But what kind? Maybe rabbit, soft and slightly chewy. Maybe pigeon, tiny and bony. Or, if luck's against you, a hapless chicken that lost its battle with the stew pot. You try not to overthink, chewing slowly, and realize that, despite its oddity, this stew has a charm. It's warm, it's filling, and in this chaotic space, that's all you need. Beside the pottage, the server tosses down a loaf of bread. Calling it bread is generous. It's more like a hastily shaped rock, heavy, tough, and when you bite, it crunches like you're chewing a log. You glance around, spotting a man at the next table using his loaf to drum a beat for his slurred song. You chuckle, take another bite, and find that the coarse barley flavor, though not tasty, oddly pairs with the bitter ale. They're like a quirky couple. No one thinks they'd match, but somehow they make it work. Then the server, as if reading your mind, plunks down a chunk of cheese. It's small, pale yellow, and smells, oh, like old boots left in the rain. You wrinkle your nose, but she just shrugs, saying, "Eat it, it's good." You slice a tiny piece, cautious as if diffusing a bomb, and take a nibble. To your shock, the salty, pungent flavor melts on your tongue, pairing perfectly with the warm ale. You laugh out loud, unable to believe something that smells like disaster could taste so divine. You sip more ale, bite more cheese, and feel like you've uncovered a tavern culinary secret. You keep eating, ignoring the mysterious floater in your pottage, and feel the stew's warmth spread through you. The hearth crackles nearby, laughter erupts from the crowd, and a simple contentment settles in. This meal's no royal feast. It's rough, strange, and might contain things you'd rather not know. But it fills you, warms you, and in this moment, it makes you smile. You lean back in your chair, spoon still in hand, and let the tavern's chaotic air embrace you. A man in the corner starts singing, voice off-key but fervent, and you chew another bite of tough bread. This tavern, with its dubious stew and cheese that smells like boots, is a place to live, to laugh, and to forget the world outside, if only for one night. Your hand grips the wooden spoon, slowly scooping thick pottage, ignoring the mysterious floater in the bowl. The pungent cheese, smelling like old boots, and the rock-hard bread have become odd companions, melding with the warm, bitter ale. The tavern buzzes, with clinking mugs and the keeper's piercing gaze orchestrating it all. But as you eat, savoring each bite, you realize this tavern isn't just a place to fill your belly. It's a living stage, where every person, every tale, every laugh becomes a performance, and somehow, you've become a spectator in a medieval drama brimming with flair. Right beside you, a ruddy-faced farmer, his tunic mud-stained, spins a yarn with such gusto it's like the world needs to hear it. He slaps your shoulder, hard enough to nearly knock your spoon loose, and launches into a tale about his cow giving birth yesterday. She was bawling, and I had to yank the calf's leg out, he bellows, laughing heartily as if you're lifelong pals. You nod, smiling, unsure if you really want details on bovine midwifery. He gulps his ale, foam clinging to his beard, and keeps going, arms flailing like he's reenacting the scene. You nibble more cheese, thinking if enthusiasm were gold, this man would be a king. Near the hearth, an old soldier, face crisscrossed with scars, captivates a small crowd with a story of dragons and a talking sword. His voice is low, eyes glinting as if he believes his own tale. The dragon spat green fire, and the sword sang with every swing, he declares, raising his hand like he's wielding it. The crowd murmurs, some chuckle softly, but no one interrupts. It's clearly a lie, but who cares? Here, a good story trumps truth, and this soldier knows how to enthrall. You chew the tough bread, feeling like you're watching an adventure flick, just missing the popcorn. In the corner, a merchant in a garish cloak brags loudly, jingling a pouch of coins. I bought a whole ship with this one coin, he boasts, eyes darting as if seeking believers. You glance over, sensing he's inviting trouble. Sure enough, a man nearby, eyes narrowed, starts fingering the dagger at his belt. The keeper, with a sixth sense, shoots a look, and a single nod from her makes the man drop his hand. The merchant keeps talking, oblivious to the beating he just dodged. You sip your ale, thinking that flashing wealth here is like inviting wolves to dinner. Near your table, two men play dice, the cubes clattering on the carved wooden surface, a cheerful rattle. One, hair a wild mess, is clearly cheating. You catch him swapping dice when his opponent looks away. But the other, a burly man with a good-natured grin, just shrugs and keeps playing, as if losing a few coins doesn't faze him. For now. You wonder if he's biding his time to flip the table, or simply too drunk to notice. Either way, this little drama makes you chuckle, and you bite into your tough bread, feeling like you're watching a tense poker match. At the room's center, a young minstrel, his cloak tattered but eyes bright, strums a lute, singing a ballad of love and the sea. His voice cracks, painfully shrill on some notes, but his passion's unmatched. The crowd claps. A few join in, though no one knows the words. A drunken man leaps onto a table, attempting to dance, nearly tumbling into the hearth before the keeper yanks him down. You laugh loudly, feeling life pulse through every sound, every movement. This tavern, with its boastful tales, rigged dice games, and off-key songs, is medieval social media. Noisy, chaotic, and brimming with drama you can't look away from. The tavern remains a vibrant stage, filled with boastful tales of dragons, rigged dice games, and an off-key minstrel crooning about love or geese. But as you lean back in your chair, sipping the last dregs of ale, you realize the tavern isn't just faces or stories. It's a wild symphony, a chaotic orchestra of sounds, where every clatter, every voice, every moment fuels the unmistakable pulse of this place. You close your eyes briefly, not to sleep, but to listen, to soak in the tavern's wondrous soundtrack. First, you hear the clash of mugs, not the delicate clink of fancy toasts, but the raucous clang of chipped wooden mugs slamming together, as if recounting their survival through countless drunken nights. Laughter erupts right after, not polite giggles, but booming, raspy roars, like wild boars being tickled. It comes from every corner, from the farmer spinning his cow-birthing yarn, from the dice players in the corner, and even from a woman who just spilled ale on her friend's shirt. This laughter never fades, only pausing to make way for another sound, then surging back, like waves crashing on a shore. Amid the laughter are voices, overlapping like an unrehearsed choir. At the next table, two men bicker about taxes, one bellowing, "The king takes my coin to build castles for his mistress," while the other shakes his head and sips ale. Near the bar, a sloshed man tries misquoting scripture to win a bet, slurring, "And the Lord said, drink ale." The crowd around him roars. Someone slams the table in support. You smile, nibbling cheese, feeling like you're tuned into a medieval podcast where everyone argues just to see who can shout louder. Then, thwack. A sharp sound jolts you, and you open your eyes to see the keeper swatting a fly dead with her filthy rag, her gaze fierce as if she'd just felled a dragon. She mutters something, perhaps a curse for insects, and resumes pouring ale. Nearby, a young server, face freckled, scolds a drunk trying to dance on a table. "Get down, Ned, unless you want to sleep in the pigsty," she yells, and Ned, face flushed, stumbles back to his seat, still grinning foolishly. From a corner, a hoarse voice keeps booming, "Another round!" You're not sure who it is, but each time it's hollered, the tavern erupts in cheers, as if it's the night's official rallying cry. In the far corner, the lute minstrel doggedly strums the same 4 chords, as if he knows just one song. His voice soars, painfully off-key on crucial notes, singing of a mermaid loving a sailor, or maybe a chicken loving a farmer. The lyrics so vague you're free to imagine. The crowd doesn't mind his imprecision. Some join in, creating a discordant but fervent chorus. You chuckle, thinking that if talent's lacking, this lad's got courage. Sometimes a miracle happens. The tavern falls silent. No one plans it, no one commands it. But for 3 fleeting seconds, the clink of mugs, laughter, and singing cease. The air holds its breath, and you feel an odd, almost sacred stillness. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, a loud fart rings out. Bold, unmistakable. The room explodes, laughter bursting like fireworks, mugs raised high, and a man shouts, "Someone just played the trombone!" You can't hold back your laugh, nearly dropping your ale, and realize that here, even the silliest moments become legend. You lean back in your chair, letting the tavern's wild symphony envelop you. The clank of mugs, boar-like laughter, tax arguments, off-key singing, all blend into this place's pulse. It's noisy, chaotic, but warm, like a hug from a slightly drunk old friend. You sip the last of your ale, feeling the hearth's glow and the life thrumming around you. This tavern, with all its madness, is a place to laugh, forget, and feel the heartbeat of a vibrant night. You smile, letting the sounds guide you, and think that, whatever tomorrow brings, tonight's a song worth remembering. As the night deepens, you sense the air shifting. Ale flows freely, mugs are raised high, and the tavern, as if bewitched, transforms into a medieval casino, a chaotic arena of dice, cards, and accusations of witchcraft. You squint, observing, feeling like you've stumbled into a game where rules exist only in the drunkest mind's imagination. At a table near you, a crowd huddles around a dice game, the rattle of wooden cubes clattering like breaking bones. The scarred table, etched with initials, bears the dice as they tumble over dried ale stains. When they stop, the group erupts. A bearded man cheers, fist raised like he's won a kingdom, while his opponent, face flushed, slams the table and yells, "You're a witch! Your dice are charmed!" The crowd roars with laughter. Someone chimes in, "Toss him in the fire! See if he burns!" The bearded man shrugs, scoops up the dice, and slyly slips a new one up his sleeve when no one's looking. You smile, nibbling cheese, thinking that here, cheating isn't a crime, it's an art. By the hearth, a hand-painted card game unfolds, though calling it cards is generous. The deck's missing a few, likely eaten or used as kindling. The rules are vague, dictated by whoever shouts loudest. A tattered cloaked man, self-proclaimed king of cards, declares the 7 beats all, unless an opponent holds a 3 and yells "whale" first. No one questions it, either too drunk or because it sounds plausible in this tavern. You spot a card marked with a smudge, and when a player slips it under his backside, you chuckle. Cheating here doesn't need finesse, just boldness. The stakes are eclectic, and you quickly learn coins aren't the only currency. One man bets 3 silvers, but his opponent, short on cash, slaps down a full mug of ale. At another table, A sloshed farmer bets his goat, shouting, "It's a fine goat, just a bit lean," while his rival counters with a pair of worn boots, soles so thin you can see toes. The crowd applauds, as if it's the deal of the century. You wonder if the goat even exists, or if it's just ale and imagination talking. In this casino, value is set by sheer enthusiasm. Winning big is a double-edged sword. A lucky man, hair wild as a bird's nest, just won at dice, his pouch jingling with coins. He grins broadly, shouting, "Another round for the house!" And the crowd hails him like a hero. But you notice glares from the corner, hands brushing daggers, and you think he'd better slip out before the losers demand justice. Losing, though, is simpler. A man at the card table, having lost his coins and a glove, shrugs, chuckles, and staggers toward the door, muttering, "Tomorrow I'll win it back." You doubt he'll wake under anything but a table, but his optimism is admirable. Beyond dice and cards, side games sprout like mushrooms after rain. Near the bar, two men arm wrestle, fingers locked, faces red as if about to burst. The loser's mocked by the crowd, and you overhear he must down a full mug of mead, a punishment that could fell the sturdiest. In another corner, a drinking contest rages, three men chugging ale from cracked mugs. The loser, a scrawny fellow, lets out a belch before collapsing under a table, sleeping soundly as the crowd cheers like it's fireworks. You lean back in your chair, letting this casino's air envelop you. The roll of dice, the cheers, the witchcraft accusations, and laughter when a man loses his boots, all blend into a song of chaos. This tavern, with its bizarre bets and lawless games, is a place to live fully, to laugh at absurdity, and forget the world outside. You smile, feeling the hearth's warmth and the night's pulse. Win or lose, one thing's certain. In this casino, every moment's a tale worth telling. The night grows late, and the tavern, just moments ago a casino with rolling dice and witchcraft accusations, now transforms into a dazzling storytelling stage. You sit on the bench near the hearth, your warm ale mug empty, with only scraps of pungent cheese and tough bread to nibble. The laughter, clinking mugs, and raucous bets give way to a new mood, still chaotic, but warmer, as if the room agreed to pause its frenzy to listen, to dream. You lean back, letting the hearth's glow embrace you, and realize this tavern, with its straw-strewn dirt floor and sour ale scent, is now a place where ordinary tales turn to legend. At the room's center, a minstrel rises, clutching a chipped lute. He's missing a few teeth, his wide grin flashing gaps, but his confidence could conquer kingdoms. He strums off-key chords, his high-pitched voice singing of a knight loving a mermaid under moonlight. The lyrics are vague, sometimes a romantic tale, sometimes a story of a drunk mistaking a mermaid for a whale. The crowd roars with laughter. One man shouts, "That knight's you, ain't it, Jack?" The minstrel winks, keeps singing, and you can't help but smile at his audacity. He might not know all the words, but the way he stands, as if the world's listening, makes you want to clap. Near the bar, a burly man, his tunic mud-stained, stands, raising his mug like he's swearing an oath before a court. "I swear on my cow's life, I wrestled a bear," he booms, voice like thunder. He describes a bear big as a windmill, claws a yard long, and a battle from dawn to dusk. You eye his calloused hands, wondering if they're scarred from bears or just plowing fields. No one believes him, but the room listens, eyes gleaming like children's. A woman chimes in. "Bear or wild boar, Tom?" He laughs heartily, sips his ale, and shrugs as if truth doesn't matter. You bite into your bread, marveling at this magic, where a silly tale can turn a farmer into a hero. In the corner, a wiry man in a threadbare cloak stands on a chair, proclaiming he's a distant royal cousin. "My aunt was the king's uncle's sister," he brags, waving his mug, ale splashing everywhere. The crowd hoots. One man yells, "Then why are you here, drinking with us?" He just grins, spinning tales of royal feasts he almost attended. His story's full of holes. Now the king rides a white steed, now a dragon. But no one interrupts. You nibble cheese, thinking that here truth's just a suggestion, and a good tale's worth more than a throne. Stories spread, turning mishaps into myths, jests into poetry. A man recounts falling into a well while ogling a girl, somehow ending with him battling a giant water serpent. The crowd claps, adding details, and you overhear a whisper that it was just an eel. You chuckle, realizing every tale here is a seed, growing with each mug of ale, each laugh, until it's bigger than truth itself. Then, like a gift from fate, a professional bard enters. He wears a tattered but vibrant red cloak, clutching a mandolin that glints under oil lamps. The room hushes. Even the keeper stops swatting flies to listen. He sings a long ballad of a knight, a princess, and a cursed castle, his voice rising and falling, so captivating you forget the cheese in your hand. The crowd cheers, stomping to the rhythm, and when he finishes, mugs are raised, coins tossed at his feet. You clap, heart racing, as if you've lived an adventure. The tavern's golden rule echoes in your mind. Never let truth ruin a good story. You laugh loudly, cheering with the crowd, forgetting it's all fiction. The toothless minstrel keeps singing. The bear wrestler still boasts, and the bard starts anew. The tavern, with its dirt floor and sour ale, is where dreams are woven from words, where you can be anyone, if only for a night. You lean back, letting laughter and tales envelop you, and feel an odd peace. Laughter, off-key singing, and rigged dice games still echo, but the ale, that cloudy, bitter brew, has made everyone bolder. The tavern, with its straw-strewn dirt floor and pungent smoke, morphs into a dance floor of romance, where clumsy flirtations, daring glances, and racing hearts intertwine in a chaotic waltz of chance and disaster. You lean back in your chair, watching, feeling like a spectator of a medieval rom-com, both absurd and endearing. In the corner, a gap-toothed man, face flushed from ale, stands, chest puffed out as if swearing fealty to a king. He eyes a woman wiping tables, his gaze sparkling, and unleashes what he thinks is poetry. You shine brighter than the hearth. You set my heart ablaze. The woman, a server with tightly bound hair and eyes sharp as knives, pauses, stares at him, then wordlessly hurls a chunk of bread at his forehead. The rock-hard loaf hits with uncanny precision, and the gap-toothed man staggers, clutching his head while grinning foolishly. The crowd erupts in laughter. Someone shouts, "Keep trying! She might aim for your eyes next." You bite your cheese, thinking flirtation here is a high-risk sport, and this guy just lost the first round. Near the bar, a shyer lad, his patched tunic a quilt of stitches, musters courage to offer ale to a woman sitting alone. He mumbles, hands trembling as he proffers the mug, voice barely audible. "I, thought you might like this." The woman, with a half-smile, takes the mug, sips, and shrugs. "Worse than well water, but thanks." The lad blushes, about to speak, when a drunken passerby spills a bowl of pottage over his tunic. He stands there, drenched, reeking of stew, as the woman giggles and turns away. You chew your bread, pitying the lad but finding it funny. Love here clearly needs more than a mug of ale and a bit of luck. The women in the tavern, from the sharp-eyed server to scattered female patrons, exude unmistakable savvy. They're warriors in their own right, ready to meet a flirt with a smile or a fist, depending on mood and the quality of the line. A young server, face freckled, pours ale while winking at a blacksmith, making him blush to his ears. But when another man, sloshed, tries touching her hand, she smacks a wooden mug into his shoulder, snapping, "Touch again, I'll break your teeth." The crowd cheers, and the drunk retreats, still grinning dopily. You smile, thinking that here, women aren't just part of the story, they write the rules. Amid the chaos of failed flirts and flying bread, love, miraculously, finds a way to bloom. Near the hearth, a baker girl, cheeks rosy from the heat, giggles with a stonecutter, his hands dusty but eyes bright. They whisper something, and when she lightly touches his arm, you see him smile, shy but joyful. At another table, two mud-stained farmers bond over an unexpected common ground: hatred of turnips. "They're only fit to chuck at pigs," one bellows, and the other nods furiously, clinking mugs. They laugh, slap each other's shoulders, and you wonder if this friendship is the start of an odd romance. Love in this tavern is a game of chance, luck, and the skill to avoid spilling pottage mid-flirt. A couple in the corner, eyes locked, nearly topples their table as they lean too close. The crowd whistles, and the keeper, behind the bar, just shakes her head, muttering, "Another pair, heavens help us." You laugh loudly, feeling life pulse through every moment. The tavern, with its clumsy compliments, flying bread, and stolen glances, is where hearts race, if only for a night. You lean back in your chair, letting the hearth's warmth and laughter envelop you. Another man tries flirting, earning a glare from the server, but he still grins, raising his mug like a trophy. You nibble cheese, thinking that here, love doesn't need perfection. It just needs the courage to try, the joy to laugh, and the luck to avoid a pottage-stained shirt. This tavern, with its chaotic dance floor of romance, is a place to live, to dream, and to feel the beat of a night worth remembering. Just one spilled mug, and the tavern, with its straw-strewn dirt floor and sour ale scent, erupts like a powder keg ignited. You sit on the bench near the hearth, clutching your last bit of cheese, feeling the crackling fire's warmth seep through your cloak. Clumsy flirtations, rigged dice games, and boastful tales of dragons or love had kept the night lively. But now the air carries a subtle tension, as if the room's waiting for the next spark. You nibble the cheese, eyes scanning the crowd, your heartbeat syncing with the tavern's chaotic pulse. And then, a tiny moment, a spilled mug, a hurled insult, or a contested chair, turns everything into a foolish but vibrant battleground. It all starts with a careless collision. A burly man, bearded, his tunic muddied from a day's plowing, stumbles, knocking into a table near the bar, spilling another's ale in a flood. The victim, a wiry man with a nose red from drink, springs up like a coil, pointing at the bearded man and yelling, "You spilled my ale, you clumsy ox!" The bearded man, instead of apologizing, smirks, his voice rumbling like thunder. "Your ale's as foul as your face. I did you a favor." That one line, like a lit fuse, sets the tavern ablaze. A splintered wooden chair sails over your head, narrowly missing a server balancing a tray of mugs. The crash of shattering glass blends with cheers. A man in the corner, before diving into the fray, shouts, "Hold my bread!" Then charges like a medieval catapult, arms flailing as if battling an army. No one's surprised. Here, brawls aren't accidents, they're a specialty, like the pottage with its mystery floaters or the ale with stray hares. This fight's more comical than dangerous, a silly performance rather than true violence. Clumsy punches swing through the air, missing targets and only fueling the crowd's laughter. One man tries yanking his rival's hair, but only manages to topple himself, dragging a table of mugs with him. Creative curses ring out, "You pig in a hat," mixed with shirt-tugging, shoulder-shoving, and moves that look more like kids squabbling over toys than actual combat. You bite your cheese, feeling like you're watching a comedy where everyone's an actor and no one really wants to hurt anyone. Amid the chaos, the keeper, that woman with eyes sharp enough to hush a room, storms from behind the bar, roaring like a general charging into battle. In her hands, a large wooden ladle, polished from years of use, and a cudgel that looks like it's shattered not just bones, but egos. "Stop it, you ale-soaked rats!" she bellows, her voice drowning out shattering mugs and laughter. She swings the ladle, smacking the bar plank so hard a mug bounces like it's dancing. The crowd pauses, but a few drunks keep swinging until she strides forward, grabbing the bearded man by the collar and yanking him back like a sack of barley. The wiry man, seizing the moment, throws a punch, but one glare from her, and he drops to his seat, hands raised in surrender. You chuckle, thinking the keeper isn't just the king of this place, she's an entire army. As the brawl unfolds, a corner of the room turns into a mini casino. Some, instead of joining, start betting, whispering, "5 coppers on the bearded guy. He looks sturdy." "Nah, I'm for the skinny one. He's scrappier." Others cheer, raising mugs and shouting the fighters' names like it's a boxing match. A woman, clutching a mug of mead, laughs and yells, "Aim for his nose. It's red enough already." The crowd roars, and you nibble bread, finding this absurdity enthralling, as if everyone agreed a brawl's part of the fun, a performance to laugh off the chill outside. Then, as if someone snapped their fingers, it all stops. No signal, no explanation. The bearded man and the wiry one, just moments ago yanking hair like squabbling cats, let go, panting heavily. The wiry man collapses to the floor, sprawling like a sack of flour, while the bearded man, shirt torn, raises his arm and belts out a victory song, voice hoarse but fervent. The crowd claps, not for his win, but because the drama ended as expected. Minutes later, as if nothing happened, the room laughs again. The wiry man's hauled up, handed a mug by the bearded man himself, and they clink glasses like old mates. Someone shouts, "Who's got his bread? Give it back!" And the tavern erupts. Mug clinks, ringing like fireworks. You lean back, letting the hearth's warmth and laughter wrap around you. The tavern, with its silly brawls, errant punches, and sous. Late at night, and the tavern, once alive with senseless brawls, clumsy flirtations, and boastful tales of dragons, is now caught in a slower rhythm. You sit on the bench near the hearth, belly full from a thick bowl of pottage and pungent cheese, yet body utterly spent after a long day and a night full of drama. Laughter still rings out, but sporadically, mixed with the clink of mugs and an off-key singing voice from a corner of the room. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the warmth of the fire makes you want to lean back somewhere, whether on a bed or simply a filthy patch of floor. You take a breath, rise, and begin your search for rest in this chaotic tavern. If you're lucky, you might secure an upstairs room. You step to the counter, where the innkeeper, a woman with sharp eyes and a fearsome ladle, wipes mugs with a grimy cloth. "Any rooms left?" you ask, trying to keep your voice steady. She eyes you, quirks a smirk, and nods toward the narrow staircase where a torn boot dangles like a warning. You hand over a few coins, receive a rusted key, and climb the creaking steps, each one a reminder that they could collapse at any moment. When you open the door, the room is so small you wonder if it was once a henhouse or merely a cupboard misnamed. It's cold, a draft slipping through cracks in the wall, and you swear something is moving in the shadows. The bed, if you can call it that, is a thin straw mattress that crunches with every shift. You sit down and immediately feel your tiny companions. Bugs the size of your hopes that you pray are only lice, nothing worse. You look around and realize you aren't alone in your slumber. A stranger, immense and snoring like thunder, has claimed half the room, lying on his back with his mouth open, producing sounds like a trapped pig. You sigh, decide to keep your boots on to avoid the filthy floor, and tuck your dagger beneath your pillow, not out of fear, but from habit as a traveler. You lie down, the straw poking into your back, and try to close your eyes, though your roommate's snores shake the beams above. Yet somehow, amid the cold, the hardness, and the noise, you murmur, "Better than sleeping in the street," and begin to drift off. If you're unlucky and the rooms upstairs are full, or your coin purse insufficient to sway the innkeeper, you must find a spot in the tavern's main room. You scan it and see several patrons curled asleep beneath tables, knees drawn to their chests, slumbering soundly despite spilled ale and dirty straw underfoot. You consider a corner near the hearth, where warmth still radiates, but a drunken fellow has taken residence, clutching an empty mug like a lover. Eventually, you spot a gap beside the one-eyed tavern dog, gnawing at a bone from the evening. It glances at you with an expression that says, "Share if you must, but don't disturb me," then returns to its sleep. You curl up on the floor, using your cloak as a blanket, and try not to think about the smell of ale, sweat, and something akin to dried pottage on your clothes. The dog, strangely enough, provides a bit of warmth, and you silently thank it, though its snores rival those of the bloke upstairs. The sounds in the tavern never fully cease. From upstairs, snores echo down, mingling with someone's muttered nonsense about a flying chicken. On the floor below, a sudden thunderous fart bursts forth, followed by the suppressed giggles of those still awake. You open your eyes to see a fellow in the corner muttering something about taxes, then flop back into sleep. The ceiling beams creak and protest, as if they've endured this tavern's chaos for far too long. Yet amid all this bedlam, you feel a strange sense of safety. Not comfortable, certainly not clean, but the fire still crackles, and this crooked wooden wall is shelter, at least for tonight. You close your eyes, letting the snores, the mutterings, and the echoing fart become a peculiar lullaby. The warmth from the hearth, faint though it is, lifts your spirits. You smile, thinking that here, between the bug-ridden straw bed, the filthy floor by the dog, and the unending din, sleep still arrives. Not because of luxury, but because you've lived a night full of laughter, chaos, and absurd tales. This tavern, with all its mess, is a place to rest, to dream, and to feel alive, if only for a few hours before dawn. You turn over, pulling your cloak tight across your shoulders, and drift into slumber. The dogs snore beside you, a man's muttering about lost gold, and the fire's steady crackle blend together, carrying you into dreams of bar brawls, foaming ale, and a night you'll never forget. No luxury, no cleanliness, but warmth, and that is enough. The first light of dawn filters through the crooked wooden door, rousing you from a fitful sleep. You open your eyes, body aching from curling up on the floor beside the one-eyed dog, or, if luck favored you, on the upstairs straw mattress teeming with tiny companions. The tavern, once alive with senseless brawls, flirtations tossed with bread, and boastful tales of dragons, lies silent like a graveyard after the storm. Around you, the walking dead groan. Last night's drunks now cradling their heads, muttering regrets over the ales they shouldn't have drunk. You blink, trying to remember where you are, and realize the sour smell of beer, wood smoke, and stale pottage still clings to the air. This chaotic tavern gave you a night to remember, and now it's time to face the morning. You sit up, your back cracking. You take in the main room. It looks like a battlefield left behind by a merry skirmish. Tankards lie scattered on the floor, some shattered to fragments, and a lone chunk of rock-hard bread rests atop a table. To your surprise, a chicken, no one knows how it arrived, is casually pecking at that bread, strutting with the ease of a regular patron. No one questions it. as if a tavern chicken is as common as spilled ale. You smile, thinking that if this bird can find calm amid such chaos, so can you. You rub your eyes and check your pockets. Still a few coins remain, a small miracle in a place where drunks would borrow anything not nailed down. You glance down at your feet, relieved to find your boots intact, though one bears a peculiar bite mark, likely the work of the one-eyed dog or a drunk mistaking a boot for a stale loaf. Suddenly, a thud jolts you from your reverie. The innkeeper, the woman with the sharp gaze and fearsome ladle, stands behind the counter, striking the ladle against a wooden mug, producing a sound like a soul-calling bell. "Rise or be out, you ale worms!" she bellows, her voice echoing through the beams and causing several walking corpses to bolt upright, clutching their heads in agony. A fellow near the hearth mutters something about demons in the ale, but one glare from her silences him. You chuckle, thinking that the innkeeper is not just this place's ruler. She is its dawn, merciless to those who cling to sleep. She resumes her ladle striking, like a conductor commanding a lazy orchestra. Gradually, the tavern stirs back to life. Breakfast, if you can call it that, is served with the generosity of a miser. The young serving girl, freckles dotting her cheeks, brings a bowl of stale pottage, surely last night's leftovers, thick and flecked with things you'd rather not identify. Beside it lies a reheated hunk of bread, harder than last night, as though forged in a smith's fire. You scoop a spoonful of pottage, wincing at its bland taste and faint earthiness, but your stomach growls, so you press on, doing your best to ignore the unidentifiable bits floating in the bowl. The bread demands both strength and resolve to bite into. Yet once you chew, you realize it's not so bad. At least it fills you. A fellow nearby, still half drunk, attempts to bite his bread and nearly snaps a tooth, prompting you to chuckle. Here, breakfast isn't about enjoyment, it's about survival. Gradually, the tavern claws its way back to life, like a great beast slowly rousing. Last night's absurd tales now sprout layers of mystique. The bearded brawler who sparked the fight over spilled ale now boasts of vanquishing a demon in a helm in a 2-on-1 clash. No one believes him, yet all lean in, nodding, adding flourishes. One man even swears he saw the demon flying past the hearth. You nibble your bread, thinking that here, truth is a luxury, and a good story is worth its weight in gold. Another patron, cradling the rare water mug, mumbles about the battle of the century, which you're certain was little more than a few missed punches and a flying chair. You rise, stretching limbs aching, yet spirit lighter. You check your pouch. Still enough coins to settle your tab, perhaps even buy another ale if you stay. Your boots, despite the bite mark, are fit to carry you onward. You glance around. The chicken still pecks at the bread. The innkeeper still clangs her ladle, and the walking dead have begun to laugh and jest. This tavern, with all its turmoil, filth, and tall tales, gave you a safe night's rest, a slumber, and a morning to smile. You step to the threshold as sunlight kisses your face, thinking that no matter the demons or brawls of last night, you survived. And that is victory enough. You pause at the door, look back one last time. The one-eyed dog yawns. A drunk starts to sing, and the innkeeper eyes you as if to say, "Go or stay, but don't trouble me." You smile. The door creaks open, and you step into the world beyond, carrying the memory of a night uncomfortable, unclean, yet warm and unforgettable. This tavern, in all its glorious chaos, fulfilled its purpose. And you know, should the chance arise, the first gentle rays of dawn filter through the warped wooden door's cracks, illuminating motes of dust suspended in the air. You step out of the main room, where the walking dead still groan from last night's excess. The chicken pecks at stray crumbs, and the innkeeper pounds her ladle like a general rallying her troops. Your boots, despite that odd bite mark, feel solid beneath you, ready to guide you away from this chaotic yet warm world. A chilly morning breeze slips through your cloak, drawing a shiver from your shoulders. You glance back at the tilting door one last time and realize the tavern is more than just a place to drink ale. It is something grander, a beating heart of the community, where life truly unfolds, even if only for a few brief hours. You stand there, inhaling the fresh air, or at least air fresher than the sour beer, stale pottage, and pungent cheese inside. Echoes of laughter, flying punches in last night's brawl, and the tale of a helmeted demon that the bearded brawler swears was real, still linger in your mind. As you step onto the uneven cobblestones, your legs heavy, you begin to ponder what the tavern truly represents. It's not merely where ale is poured into mugs or bread is smashed onto the forehead of a clumsy flirt. It is a hub where news spreads faster than the wind, from grave reports of distant wars to the gossip of a blacksmith's affair with the baker's daughter. You smile, thinking that if a medieval newspaper existed, this tavern would surely be its editorial office. In that raucous space, you recall the farmer sitting shoulder to shoulder with the saddle maker, mugs raised high. A mud-stained laborer, hands calloused, laughs heartily as he recounts tales of a cow giving birth sideways, while the craftsman nods in agreement, adding a story about a horse that once kicked him clear across the yard. They are different. One tills the fields, the other stitches leather. But here, they are drinking companions, bound by ale, laughter, and absurd stories. You remember the shy fellow who offered his ale to a maiden only to be rebuffed, and another who claimed royal kinship, though no one believed him. A newcomer enters, wary-eyed, yet after a single mug, they slap each other on the back, singing off-key and forgetting the cold beyond the door. The tavern is a magical forge where strangers become allies, if only until the last drop. You walk on, the remaining coins in your pocket jingling faintly. In your mind's eye, you replay moments where deals were struck over drunken pledges, a farmer and a merchant, after 3 flagons of mead, shaking hands to trade barley for cloth, though both surely regret it by morning. Feuds are settled, or ignited, within these walls. You recall the bearded brawler and the gaunt man, from tugging each other's hair over spilled ale to raising mugs as brothers after the fight. The tavern is where grudges are buried beneath laughter or explode into comedic spectacle, where flying chairs and hurling loaves become weapons of camaraderie. The tavern, you realize, is also a court, a stage, and a confessional. There, the farmer admits he accidentally let his neighbor's cows trample the wheat, and the crowd, rather than judge, only laughs and shouts for more ale. The toothless singer twists the mermaid's tale into an off-key opera, and the room erupts into applause as though witnessing a masterpiece. Every story, true or invented, is heard, embellished, and celebrated. You smile, thinking that the tavern's golden rule, never let the truth spoil a good story, is its very creed. It allows everyone to forget the harshness of the world outside, where biting winds and unforgiving life prevail. You pause and glance back at the tavern once more. The door still squeaks, the chicken likely still pecks at crumbs, and the innkeeper is no doubt pounding her ladle, rousing the drunken masses. The tavern is no luxury. It's filthy, noisy, and redolent of stale pottage. But it brings life to life. Farmers, craftsmen, strangers, and even the one-eyed dog are all part of that chaotic yet warm tableau. You recall the thunderous snores from upstairs, the fart that sent the room into fits of laughter, and the clink of mugs like fireworks. Those absurd moments made you laugh, banished the cold, and reminded you that you were not alone. You step onward, the cobblestone road leading you out of the small town. The sun shines brighter now, glinting off your bitten-into boots and your cloak still scented of ale. You smile, thinking that the tavern, with all its glorious mess, is something special. It's more than a place to drink or to throw chairs. It is the beating heart of the community, where news, laughter, and dreams are shared. You slip your hand into your pocket, feel the handful of coins that remain, and vow that, should the road ever bring you back, you will push that squeaking door open once more, to feel that life-alive rush again, however briefly. You step onto the muddy road. Your peculiarly bitten boots sink into the mire with each step. You carry with you the scent of wood smoke, sour ale, and the memory of an unforgettable night. Gentle dawn light filters through sparse tree branches, making puddles glint in the road. A cold morning breeze slips through your cloak, rousing you from your reverie. The tavern, with its squeaking door and straw-strewn floor, recedes into a shadow behind you. Yet laughter, breaking mugs, and absurd tales of a helmeted demon still echo in your mind. You pause, inhale the fresh air, or at least air fresher than stale pottage and pungent cheese, and realize that the medieval tavern was more than a place. It was a noisy, filthy, utterly authentic time machine. The road ahead lies rough, strewn with gravel and clay, yet your steps feel lighter than you expected. Last night, you survived a realm of chaos, flying chair brawls, awkward courtships, ending with loaves of bread hurled at foreheads, fitful slumber beside the one-eyed dog. You smile, recalling the bearded man and the gaunt fellow, tugging each other's hair one moment, raising mugs in brotherhood the next, and the innkeeper's thunderous roar as she brandished her ladle like a general. The tavern was never about comfort or cleanliness. It was about feeling alive, about laughing at absurdity, about escaping the harshness of the outside world, if only for a few hours. You slip a hand into your pocket. A few coins jingle, a spoil of a worthy adventure. You move on. Each step splatters mud against your coat, but you do not mind. Your breath forms little clouds in the cold air. You think of the tavern as that wondrous time machine, whisking you back to an era raw yet real, where farmers and craftsmen sat shoulder to shoulder, sharing ale and ridiculous tales, where agreements were sealed with drunken handshakes, feuds settled in comedic clashes, and dreams spun from off-key songs. You recall the chicken pecking at bread this morning, strolling about like a familiar patron, and you laugh aloud. The tavern, with all its filth and mayhem, remains a place of truth. It makes no pretense of being anything but itself. As you journey farther, birdsong begins to replace the snores and the echoes of farts through the rafters. You think of the friends you met in the tavern, however briefly. The toothless singer, belting out mermaid ballads with the confidence of a knight. The baker's daughter, giggling with the stonemason, her eyes sparkling in the hearth smoke. And even the one-eyed dog, snoring beside you as an unwilling companion. They, all of them, along with those murky ales and rocks-hard loaves, made for an unforgettable night. You smile, realizing that the tavern was not merely a waypoint, but a world where strangers and friends alike became part of the story. You pause beneath an ancient oak and glance back along the road to the tavern. The image of its creaking door, the sign, be it a bear or a barrel, who can say, floats in your mind. A twinge of regret stirs, but you know it will stand there still, ready to welcome you with the smell of ale, laughter, and absurd brawls should you return. "Thank you for traveling with me tonight," you whisper, picturing an audience at a bedtime story. If you enjoyed this tale, hit like, share, and subscribe to hear more historical adventures. In the comments below, tell me where you'd like to explore next. A cold, secretive castle, a battlefield ringing with steel, or a bustling medieval market redolent of fish? You smile again, knowing each place holds its own tales, yet none compare to that raucous tavern. You press on, the muddy path opening into a sweeping field. The sun now shines brighter, warming your face and sharpening your senses. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the memories of last night, the smoke's tang, the clinking mugs, the innkeeper's roar, set toll within you. Now, close your eyes, relax, and let your dreams carry you to another age, you murmur, feeling light as though the tavern has granted you not only a night, but a fragment of time to savor. Sleep well, you tell yourself, then step forward with a smile, carrying the scent of ale, smoke, and the memory of an honest, noisy, and unforgettable night. The road ahead lies open, but a piece of your heart remains in that tavern. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's always a thrill to see people tuning in from around the globe. Comment 1 if you enjoyed this story, so we can continue bringing you more great tales. I will return another night with another story, another soul, another whisper from the past. Until then, sleep well.